to welcome everyone to the conversation where we talk about everything Cowboys. My favorite team, your favorite team, America's team. To the conversation. Here with your host, Coach Marv.
Cowboy Nation. I just came on live, man. I uh, got a very interesting topic today, man. And tonight I wanted to, because I just got finished watching and anticipating in the one of the better shows that we have, the OGs with B Bird and B Bird and Big Time Show and those three guys, man. Round all those guys, man. They do a great job, man. Um, we just had a problem of connecting together, man. But they had a great show about this uh, about the coaching session and all about what's going on with the Cowboys and the Cowboys news that's going on right now. But it's something that's heavy on my mind. I talked to the Big Time Show. I talked to some other people. I talked to Mr. Boss. I talked to Boss Cowboy. Now, I talked to a lot of people, man, but it's something heavy on my mind that goes along with this coaching search that we got with this defensive coordinator position and about our coaching staff in general. And if you look at my name or my title, hey there, Miss Ginger. If you look at my title says that we're the Cowboys team building is, and you can fill in the part after the pimp word of what you want to say, but the Cowboys is doing what we call pimping backwards when it's talking about team building. I know I may get in trouble with that word of pimping because people are going to look at that word as a negative negative word. Yes, it is, but you that word is used into a certain thing, but there are certain words in the definition of that word that we can utilize when we're talking about team building of a football team. Controlling the atmosphere, controlling to get the maximum out of the product that you put on the field. And I think the Cowboys go about this situation totally different than any other of franchise. I'm going to and pack that what I'm talking about when I say about pimping backwards, and when it comes to football terms, I'm going to tell you how I mean that. I'm going to tell you how where I'm seeing the NFL, and it's how it's not just not how it's going, it's always going this way. And how coaching, how sports have gone this way. What the better owners teams do, and not just the teams that win championships, the teams that what we call consistent. That word consistent is a very vital word in what you want to be if you want to be successful. The teams that every year that win playoff games, that are in contention to win in their division, regardless of what goes down, they may have a bad year here and there, but they're consistently playing in big games, and you can get a consistent play from them every year. And what makes those organizations consistent? We're going to talk about some of those consistencies. We're going to talk about some of those things that when we're talking about this coaching search, when we talk about what we're paying coaches, when we talk about where our salary structure of paying coaches, when we talk about, well, coach, that we're going to talk about in these brief moments, we're going to talk about what makes us inconsistent and what makes us inconsistent, that we don't have a consistent flow to be able to get to six. Pipping backwards. So let me give you my general not what I'm saying when I say about pipping backwards. When you're talking about sports teams and you're talking about football or you're talking about basketball, or you're talking about baseball, there is a belief that says if I got the better players, I don't need coaching. Or if I got the better coaches, I don't need players. But it's a combined effort between the two. You got to have great players, not all great players, and very good coaching, but everybody has to fit. And the Cowboys, if you want to turn that into Cowboy sense, we have Jerry and them have had the main problem they've had for 30 years is about who they have allowed to run their team on the field. Let me unpack that for you. When Jimmy Johnson left the Dallas Cowboys, and I had a show that I talked about this before. When Jimmy Johnson left the Cowboys, if you go back and watch the documentary they don't get on Netflix, when he left there was an argument after they had won two championships, even though they had some strife about, you know, a lot of stuff was going on. But he said that I can put this team, this talented team together. I got enough talent on this team that I could take 100 guys that could be the coach of this team and win a championship. Oh yeah, they had a lot of talent. The Cowboys had a lot of talent. The Emmitt Smith, the Troy Aikmans, the Michael Irvins, the Jay Novaceks, the Great Wall offensive line, the Charles Haley, the number one defense in the NFL. That's before they even had Deion Sanders. And he said I could take 100 guys with this talent and they can win the Super Bowl after they had won back-to-back Super Bowls. So Jimmy caught word of that, Jimmy Johnson, and that really made him upset because he felt that he had put in and he had enhanced some of these guys to be for them to start to call them talented. He had put some of these guys in the right spot. He had motivated some of these guys. He has refined some of these guys that we considered talented at that particular time. And he felt he was part of the maturation of those talented players. And that you couldn't get anybody to do that and win. So Jimmy left, and in come Barry Switzer. Barry Switzer took the talented players that Jimmy had, that were already motivated, that was already refined, and then they won another championship. So let's talk about the talented players, because a lot of people want to talk about saying, well, Jimmy had a lot of talented players. Well, when Jimmy came in, Troy Aikman wasn't winning football games. He was talented coming out of college, but he wasn't refined when before Jimmy came in. Emmitt Smith was drafted by Jimmy. He came in. Thought Michael Irvin was coming off a injury season when he first got drafted by the Cowboys with Tom Landry. Remember, Michael Irvin was coming back off an ACL. Do anybody remember what the offensive line was? The Great Wall. There was no first round draft picks on the Great Wall. Mark Tuinei used to play defense. Stepnowski was one of a fourth or fifth round draft pick, a third round draft pick out of college, and he was known as one of the smallest centers in the NFL. And that's when we had, I think he was like a buck 60, a buck 50. Nate Newton was cut from the Washington Redskins at that time. I can say Washington Redskins. That was not ready-made team. That was not a team that they say, well, they gave all Jimmy all number one draft picks, and he took a bunch of. Eric Williams was a late round draft pick out of a small school. Larry Allen came out of Samoa State, and the reason why Larry Allen fell down in the draft because he had chronic shoulder injuries in college. Anybody remember the defense? Ken North Jr. wasn't a high draft pick. Some of these guys were drafted in the third or fourth round. And some of them were drafted in the first round. Washington, the guy that I thought should have been MVP of two Super Bowls, the safety, wasn't not a half draft pick. Thomas Everett was the safety for the Cowboys. They got him in a trade from Pittsburgh. He was a top guy coming out, but he didn't work in Pittsburgh. Jay Novacek was not a top draft pick. Matter of fact, Jay Novacek came from another team on the transition when they had transition free agents then. He wasn't even drafted by the Cowboys. So Jimmy said, I made some of these guys stars, made them look, molded their talent to get to be more talented, to get to show their talent on the motivation as well as somebody put in the chat, the discipline, the hard work, the sacrifice that they put in to get to where they was at talented. So Jimmy said, you said you could put 100 guys that can get these guys to this level. And now that I got them to that level, now what you're going to tell me that I can get 100 guys to get them to win a championship. But who got them to that level? You're telling me that after the finished product that I can do that. They can do that. And guess what? The finished product worked for one more championship. And Jerry has been trying to find that type of coaching staff for over 30 years. And how much talent has come through Dallas in those 30 years? A lot. We probably had more Pro Bowlers than most teams in 30 years. We hadn't been void of talent. Now, sometimes we avoid talent, but we had talent. But we hadn't maximized that talent. See, Jimmy maximized whatever talent that he had to bring a consistent type of play. So when I say the NFL, the Cowboys are what we call pimping backwards, we don't take it seriously with coaches. So our fan base think we need to keep chasing talent, but we don't put enough value and money into the guys that can maximize the talent that we have and get the most out of it. We don't go and invest in someone that says, "Hey, maximize the players I'm getting you. I'm gonna get you some stars, but let's maximize that." Well, let's look at some examples of what Coach Marv is talking about. Let's look at one of the most successful teams right now in the NFL. Not right now because they're not in the playoffs this year, but they've been in the Super Bowl what 6 times or 5 or 6 times in the last 7 years. They've been in the NFC, AFC championship game for 7 straight years. This is the first year they're not in the Super Bowl. I mean, in the playoffs. Let's look at the Kansas City Chiefs. They got a nucleus from the start. When they got Patrick Mahomes, they got Kelsey. I don't think Kelsey was drafted by them, but they got Kelsey. They got somewhat of a nucleus. Dating back 10 years ago, they started to play well. They was great offensively. The defense wasn't good, but they started to build their defense. They got some guys. They picked up some guys that we let go in free agency in training camp, and they turned those guys into stars. They had a linebacker of us that we cut, and he came to play 2 Super Bowls with them. 2 linebackers that we cut, and a cornerback that came an All Pro with them. Team players that we cut. They put a team together. And yes, they had Patrick Mahomes, but they put a team together. And guess what they told Andy Reid? This is how you great organizations team build. They said, Andy, once we build this team and you get this team up and we start to win, everybody's gonna notice our players. We're gonna keep a nucleus here. We're gonna pay certain players. But your job is to replace the second tier guys and still get the same production. Because we can't pay everybody. And guess what Andy Reid said? And his coaching staff said, we're going to get the maximum out of this roster to keep our nucleus together. And that's what they did. And they paid their coaches well. That's why a lot of them didn't jump up and leave and go to other things because they were getting paid very well in Kansas City. They valued their coaching staff. And guess what? When Tyreek Hill said that he wasn't going to fit in the structure no more, they won back-to-back Super Bowls without him. One of the greatest, one at that time, one and still was one of the best wide receivers out there. But they told Andy Reid that we can't pay everybody at top level. We can't go out and get top level free agency. We got a nucleus that we're paying. There's a restriction on salary cap. but there's no restriction on the coaching salary. We're gonna get you the best coaching salary, coaching team that money can buy, and we're going to depend on that coaching staff and that talent evaluation to be able to take third round guys and make them starters, to make the maybe fourth round guys make them starters, to get everybody to contribute, to get the maximum, to build stars that people don't think are stars, to put for everybody to fail in their right spot, to grind them, to work them, to get the maximum out of everybody on this unit, get the value out of them, the pimping part. And when we get a player like Tariq Hill that don't fit in this thing, we're still gonna be, when we get that, we still gonna be, we still gonna have consistency. When we lose a player, we're gonna still have consistency because it's gonna have the next person, and we're gonna find that person. We're gonna hold that person accountable. We're gonna put him in there. We may have to change how we do certain things. May have to mold and slide to another way of thinking on certain things. So to our advantage, we may not can just try to play big plays and run down receiver. We may have to start playing a little more short game because we don't have Tariq Hill. But this coaching staff is going to be able to conquer, to put it together, and get consistency. And we're going to maximize the salary cap. But you're going to pay these guys that I need on this coaching staff to get that done. But in Dallas, we keep saying as a fan base, we need to get more players. The New York Giants made a statement this week. They said we're going to go out and get a guy that has won, and they have told Jim Harbaugh, we're going to pay you as such, but we want you to make up the money that we pay you and your coaches in controlling our salary cap and keeping our salary cap in line, because we don't have to go out and get every free agent in the world. You're going to be able to draft well, you're going to be able to develop, and then the second tier guys, you're going to be able to develop the next guy to step in into their shoes. And there's going to be some free agents we're going to have to let go. There's going to be some guys we're going to be able to bring in here that's not going to be top level, but you're going to maximize our roster to get the best out of it. That's what they're telling Jim Harbaugh. That's what Jim Harbaugh is telling his team, his ownership. Because know what he's telling his ownership? You ain't got to go get me a bunch of first round draft picks for me to win. I don't have to have the best of the best to win. It's my job to make people the best of the best. Put them in the right spots for them to be the best in what we need them to do. I laugh at sometimes when people talk about. I was just telling my lady friend when I was explaining this stuff. I was going on the show and I said, you know something? I went to a restaurant one time and I had a steak dinner, and it was a steak restaurant, but it wasn't one big time steak restaurant. They didn't have where in some of these other steak restaurants you go in and you have to, they bring out the steak and they tell you how fine of a cut the steak is, and you order that steak and they go and have their people prepared and stuff like that. This was not one of those things. They had some cuts of steak and they prepared it. And it was a T-bone, and they prepared it. They didn't come out there advertising the T-bone and said it came from this thing and how the cut of this. And now there've been some steak restaurants that they bring it out and you look at it, and they tell you, they give you the history of the meat, where it come from, how it's cut, and you chose that. And yes, it costs a lot because it'd be a great cut of meat. But this steak restaurant I went to, I got a T-bone, and the craziest thing about it is, I was in Augusta, Georgia. It was one of the best steaks that I've had in my entire life. And that was many years ago, I still haven't gotten a steak that was just that good. I don't know if it's because I was really hungry and had to wait a long time, but it was a perfect cooked steak. I still now remember that steak right now today. The place was called T-Bones. I don't know if they still uh going on, but T-Bones. And I got a steak from them. And the emphasis of that story is, I went to a restaurant that, and I'm not gonna name it, but I went to a restaurant that was a high dollar restaurant in my hometown that we they bring this stuff out, and I picked, because I like T-bones, and I picked the T-bone, and it's supposed to be one of the best T-bones cuts of a T-bone. They were known to have the best product of meats at that restaurant, and the steak went worth a damn. It didn't compare to T-bones at no, because I was looking for T-bones. I was looking for to say, okay, I'm getting the better quality steak. I'm at this place, I'm getting the best cut of meat. It's gonna taste just like that restaurant when I went to T-Bone when they cooked that steak. And he said, well, coach, what does this got to do with football and what you talk about with maximizing your product on the football field? You can go and get the best player to all the free agents and have guys that cannot prepare them and put them together to maximize what they got and fail. Or I can go get some guys that with the level of the players is just a tad step. Maybe one or two of the guys are top level, but some of it's not as top level. And they can put that together and make a masterpiece. Because those people at T-Bones took a steak that they probably weren't getting from the same cut as that other restaurant. And they made a masterpiece when it came to me. And the best cut steak, and I paid plenty of money for that best cut steak because I picked the best cut of T-bone that they had, thinking that anybody can put it together and it's gonna be great. Isn't that what Jerry said when he was talking about Jimmy? I got all the talent in the world. I got two-time Super Bowl talent. I got the best, one of the better quarterbacks. I got the best running back and one of the best runners. I got the best offensive line. I got a number one defense. I can take anybody and put them with this and make a masterpiece. And he been trying by getting talent. Brought Will McClay in. Will McClay has done a great job. And I'm not talking about Schottenheimer, not saying Schottenheimer can't make it. But this coaching search is showing you that we are always looking to try to make a star with the coaching staff. Jason Garrett, we tried to make him a star. Kellen Moore, we try to make him a star. We try to find diamonds in the rough coaching wise and try to get them to be star levels by trying to put them with talent. To say we built a coach. Where coaches should be building players. See what I'm talking about? Pimping backwards. We try to build an organization. We try to build a coach from the dust to be a star, where coaches should build players to be stars. Because guess what? Think about this. If you're trying to build a coach up like a Jason Garrett, a uh, Kellen Moore, even a Schottenheim giving his first coaching job. If you're trying to get a coach and build him up to say, I recognize this guy could be a great mind, and we're going to try to make him successful, and he could be one of the best coaches that's out there. You only got a certain amount of money in the salary cap to do that. So if he keeps needing to be propped up, you ain't got enough money salary cap wise to fit, but put it together enough, or enough number one draft picks to put it together enough to build him to make him successful. So you always gonna be tracing the carrot, saying we need to get more and more players and better players and more free agents and more players, because you got to get the deck stacked to make this guy a star. Barry Switzer in professional football had to have the deck stacked for him to win a championship. You had to have the team that Jimmy left him, and then you had to go add Deion Sanders to get Barry over the hump to win a championship. But Jimmy won two without Deion, back to back. Jerry, you had to go spend $35 million and get a cornerback from the other team to get Barry Switzer over the hump. And Jimmy did it with Larry Brown and Kevin Smith, back to back. But you said, Jerry, that I could get 100 guys that could coach this talent and win Super. You had to spend more money and had to have your son jack you up to get Barry across the goal line. When Jimmy got you across the goal line and you spent less. So who got more value at your product? I didn't say it was all coaching. It's a combination. But when you put good coaching with talented players, you don't need everybody to be ultra talented, because a good coach is going to maximize every little bit out of that. Just like that chef, that chef in T-Bone Steakhouse in Augusta, Georgia. He took that steak, that regular old steak that they got, probably that grade B cut that they got, and he maximized every morsel of that quality of that steak and put it together. That I'm still talking about that 30 some years later. And I hadn't found it yet since then. And I've been to many of steak restaurants. Because valued the chef. Didn't say they had the worst piece of meat, worst steak cut. No, you can't get the worst guy. You can't get some old scrap meat and try to make it. But if you got some quality, you could raise the level of it to make it look like it's a superstar. Everybody on your team is not going to be superstars. I have always told you the art of winning is the sum of the parts. And if you can raise everybody's level from the bottom and even your top players, your chances of being successful and being The word that we say that is about championships. Your chances of building this that wins championships, that's always in the mix for championships, that's always in contention of building consistency, is being able to you get the maximum out your product. And we've been trying with coaches since Jimmy left. The Jason Garrett's, the Shane Gillis, uh, the Wade Phillips, the what's the other guy that was the defensive back coach, and they brought him and they made him. All these guys was under Jimmy staff, but they weren't head coaches. They were good at what they did. Then we brought in Bill Parcells. He took a team. Let's talk about how Bill Parcells did. Somebody say he didn't win a championship. But let's look how Bill Parcells maximized the talent that we had on the Dallas Cowboys. Bill Parcells took a ragtag team that was 5-11 for 3 years when he got here. Bill Parcells took that team, Dave Campo, thank you. Bill Parcells took that team and won a division with Quincy Carter at quarterback, and Quincy Carter was bipolar. Now, is that maximizing your talent? He brought a defense up to a top 10 defense, and nobody knew nobody on that defense. He got a undrafted free agent at quarterback named Tony Romo when nobody in the NFL drafted him, and built Tony Romo up to be a starter for the Dallas Cowboys and to see what Tony Romo did for them. You don't think that's coaching? You don't think that? Yeah. Thank you. You don't think that's coaching? He took whatever you had, Jerry, and maximized it. Where you had a Quincy Carter was a third, fourth round draft pick, and you had an undrafted quarterback that he drafted and got that guy to be a starter. He saved you money because he had great coaches, and his coaching staff, Sean Payton, Dan Campbell, was on that team. But his coaching staff went on to be great. Mike Zimmer. Great. He maximized the talent. And he saved you money, Jerry. Because you put invested in a guy that can give you the maximum out of what you had. And he said, yeah, you give me some good players, but I'm going to take these other guys. I'm going to put a culture here that is going to be fit here, and we're going to maximize whatever you give me. So if you give me, we get a little bit better players, we're going to maximize the Super Bowl. But he ran out of gas physically. Quincy Carter, he won a division with. He took a guy that was an undrafted free agent and made him one of the top quarterbacks in the league in Tony Romo because he saw it. But then you go right back doing the same thing you did before. Jerry, you took that and said, oh, well, now I'm going to be able to do it from the sideline. I'll get anybody to coach. If I got those guys, if he took Quincy Carter to the championship and won a division, I get anybody to coach and they can do the same thing. And have they done it since then? We got some people that got some far, but Had teams that been more talented. Did you get the maximum out of that talent? Wade Phillips didn't give you the maximum. We won 13 games, and you did after Bill Parcells. He took Bill Parcells' team that the mentality he put in. Did you get that? Did you stay consistent after Bill Parcells left? No. You bought Jason Garrett. You went 8-8, a couple good years, but basically 8-8. Did you maximize the talent you had here with Tony Romo, with Darius Bryant, with a great offensive line, Flozell Adams, where you had some wide receivers in here that you paid some money to? You had Ezekiel Elliott. You had some great running backs here. You had a lot of talent here. Did Jason Garrett maximize that talent? No. They underachieved with the talent they had. And every year we kept talking about you need to go out in free agency and get more players. As what we were saying, go get more players, go get more players, chasing the tail. We struggled to win a division back to back, and Bill Parcells won with Quincy Carter that they had to give bipolar medicine to. Maximize with the talent. Now let's talk about what's happening right now. Because you said, well, coach, well, he's doing the history of the Cowboys. But let's talk about some other teams. We talked about Kansas City, how they maximized the talent they had. They took guys. Let's go back to Kansas City. They get rid of Tariq Hill, a all-pro, one of the best receivers in the league. Win back-to-back Super Bowls. They have one of the cornerbacks become all defensive cornerback, one of the best years at cornerback. They let him walk, go to the Titans. They go back to the Super Bowl again next year with a great secondary. Then they interchanged our offensive line. There's certain core that they've kept together. I always say that. If you got a great core, keep them. We build around them. They didn't let the core go, but the second half free agents, they had to let them go because you can't pay everybody, and you got to maximize your talent. They did that. They have a great run for 7, 8 AFC championship games. That's what KC did. So let's look at now. Y'all gonna say, "Well, coach, you giving me history." But let's look at the teams now. What is San Francisco doing right now? San Francisco, for what they paid Salas, which they probably paid him very much, a lot of money, because he's probably in the top 5 of defense coordinators. And the defensive staff that he brought over there, which he probably brought some good guys, or that was still there because when he was there before. And what they're paying Kyle Shanahan, which is double digits, where our coaches, you can put 3 or 4 our head coaches together, and they don't make what Kyle Shanahan makes in a year. When you can lose 4 or 5 all pros, all world players, trade away a guy that was been an all pro player for you. Have injuries, have players out, pick up quarterbacks from other places that didn't pan out. And you can bring them in and put them together in a culture and maximize the talent out of all the players on the roster. Not saying that they were superstars. You put them in the right spot, you maximize their talent together. That's coaching. And you built a consistency to be back in the playoffs in the second round. That don't mean you might not win the Super Bowl, but as a fan base, we happy. We're still in contention. You didn't fall apart, and you earned your money. And guess what? When those guys got hurt, you didn't ask us, as our fan base asked us, go out and spend some more money. You didn't go and say, well, hey, man, let's go get some trades. Trade all our draft capital because we need to get some other guys. You pulled your boots up, and your organization knew the type of coaches we had, and they said, hey, man, let's try to figure out how to work it out. And guess what? They were good enough to adjust their game plan to get it to work out. And then next offseason, we may do something, but we didn't have to make no G-jerk decisions because we trust y'all to be consistent. Now, did they win a championship? Yes, we probably would be much better to win a championship with those guys. But guess what? We consistent and we in contention. I'd rather be in contention like they are and don't win a championship than to be sitting home like we doing. With better players. Yes, I said it. We got better players. And where the hell we at? But Kyle Shanahan has maximized the talent on that team. And then when you put great players, you can rebuild. They strip their players down. I remember seeing in the barbershop before this season, I said there's no way that San Francisco's going to be, because they done stripped their team down. They in a total rebuild. And guess what their general manager was saying? We ain't never rebuild because we coach players up. We got players that's gonna come and step in that we have coached up. That's we gonna give them the right things to be able to be successful. We got a core, and we just some of that other stuff we had to strip down because we can't pay everybody, and we got to keep the salary structure. But we talked with enough of our coach. Where our coach is gonna save us money in the long run because he's gonna maximize what we got. They laughed at me. John Lynch was laughing at me when I probably said, "Man, y'all ain't gonna do that." And I'm embarrassed because now I see how valued they are. I've said if Shanahan was to come here and you paid him and he brought that culture and that coaching staff here, shit, we'll probably have had 8 Super Bowls now. But they're not coming cheap. And I said this again, when you pay somebody of their value, it automatically comes with a little bit more level of say so. But our fan base don't value coaching. We value to going to get talent and thinking we'll get enough talent to override the other side. You're gonna have a hard time struggling to do that. And you just can't do the talent and you can't just do the coaching side and neglect talent. No, it's a mixture of the two. But when I say pimping backwards, we talk about we pay the less in coaching staff. We try to make stars where other people use their coaches to make stars, star players. We try to put players around to make coaches stars. We try to say we try to, Jerry always trying to say we picked this gym. You know, he always talk about we think he's a great guy. He's gonna be a star. We kept Jason Garrett around because we thought Jason was gonna be a star. And Jerry could say, I picked Jason Garrett to be a star. Same thing with Kellen Moore. We try to say I was the one that propped him up to be a star. He's doing the same thing. He doing all the same stuff he did with Barry Switzer. And I'm not saying Barry Switzer, but as a pro coach, he brought Barry in and said, I'm going to do everything to try to prop you up to get you to the Super Bowl. Even if I got to go get Deion Sanders and pay way above market to make you look successful. but I can't sustain it because I can't keep getting players because you ain't maximizing the guys we got. Yeah, that's how it goes, man. That's how it goes. Pimping backwards. And I'm not saying you need all coaches, but utilize what you don't have salary cap in and maximize that to control and maximize the stuff that you have limitations on. Let me say that again. Use the coaching staff and maximize that with the best of the best so you can limit and control the one that you have limitations on. Pay the best for the uncontrollable, and then it can control the ones that you got a limitation on. But what we do is we worried about talking about paying our own players, then maybe have to go get players here and there, and then have to get this guy. And as soon as a guy that we is a marginal guy, we got to pay him because we got to have the players. We got to make sure we got the best of the best players and keeping guys because we can't mold no guys behind them because we got to keep properly coaching up. That's pimping backwards. San Francisco has been Seattle. Tell me how many superstars they building superstars, but you think their roster is so great? Their roster is great now because they're performing well in the places they're supposed to be. Denver. Let's look at Denver. What Sean Payton did to Denver. He traded. Hold up now. He released a quarterback that has signed an extension before the extension kicked in. They took a massive salary cap hit, but getting rid of Russell Wilson that they still got now. He told owners, the owner said we don't have salary cap money to go out and get free agents. What Sean Payton told him, I'm gonna be able to take the draft that we got. We're gonna pick up some guys that what name? I'm gonna get rid of some guys, but I'm gonna maximize the guys that we got here. We're gonna coach this team to a way. We're gonna form our team to fit our when we're gonna take this quarterback and mold him, and we're gonna get the maximum out of this. A team that was in salary cap hell now are the number one team in the AFC. And they didn't get all a bunch of free agents, people. Sean Payton earned his money, and his coaching staff earned their money. The money you paid them, they save you money in a lot of players. But what we try to do, we try to pay cheap coaches, try to make guys stars, and it end up cost you more money with players, Jerry. Prime example is, and I say prime, which is crazy. Prime example, Jimmy took a team that won two Super Bowls without a Deion Sanders. And they probably would have beat the they would have probably beat if Jimmy was there, they probably would have beat him when Deion Sanders was at San Francisco. They would have and won three in a row. You had to go spend over the top money to get Dion to get Barry to the promised land. He cost you money. Jimmy could have got it with a lot less. And our fan base think getting players. And we don't speak up about who we got running this team. Why we always gotta be trying to make a star out of a coach? don't have enough money that we can get guys that's already stars? Don't have enough money that we could have been and got Sean Payton here, and Sean Payton could be doing what he's doing here with better talent, and we could have been in the Super Bowl now? Why we gotta try to make a guy a star? Don't we think that we got with no salary cap, we should be already getting the star? We should have the best defensive line coach, the best offensive line coach. There's no cap. And don't you understand, Jerry, that you probably have to pay less money to players because you don't have to have the second tier guy. You may not have to keep signing them to maximum deals because this coaching staff is going to be able to get with Will McClay bringing people in. We're going to be able to, in some aspects, roll people out and replace them like they do in Kansas City, like they do in San Francisco. They don't have to keep everybody. Don't you understand that? Or you rather continue to pimp backwards? See, when we talk about the pimping game, you want to make sure that you on the front stage, getting all the glamour. But it should be the ladies, because you got to maximize their product. But you doing it backwards. Same thing in this coaching thing. It's gonna cost you more money and more headache when you got people that can't maximize what you have. Jerry, you was in the oil game, you on the oil business. I'm speaking to Jerry because I hope somebody get this to Jerry. You in the oil business. When you get a site and you got a rig, you got a well, you pay top guy dollar for the guy who's running that well because he got to get the maximum out that well and the maximum out that staff. And out the equipment you buy out there. And you need to tell me you got to keep buying better and higher price equipment to make a guy be somewhat successful. When you can take a guy that you could buy just good equipment and he can flip that thing and make that well most profitable well in the country. And get people working and wide open. But you're gonna pay big dollars for him. You're gonna pay him way more than you pay any other. But the money you pay that well operator gonna save you more money on the end and make you more money. Yeah. You had to go get Terrell Owens. You had to go trade for Roy Williams. You had to go try to get more guys to make a guy successful. Yeah. And I don't think none of our fan base see that because they keep talking about we need to go get free agents. Let me give you two more examples because we want to kill some myths. We're going to kill some myths. Let me give you the example where I first came up with this. I'm going to give you two reasons, two things. When you're in high school football coaching, and I've been in that, you can't go out in certain high schools, you can't go out and get all the best players in every neighborhood. But you got to maximize yourself. You learn that in college and learn that because you can't get every best players. You cut your teeth of learning that you got to maximize what you have. Now, that may not win no games, but you got to maximize what you have. Then I'm a pro basketball fan. If y'all may know, I'm a Laker fan. Not big as a Laker fan as I was because I'm not really a LeBron basketball fan. What he does for his humanitarian stuff, I like that. But as a basketball fan, he's not bigger than the Lakers. Let's just stop. Just say it that way. Lakers are too big. But I go back to the last time they won 3 championships when the Phil Jackson era. People talking about how man that's talent, coach. That's talent. Shaquille O'Neal and Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant. That's why they won. But listen, see, I got a backstory on that. That a lot of people don't like to talk about. Before Phil Jackson came here, I would say the Lakers had more talent. They had more talent before Phil Jackson came here than they had after Phil Jackson came here. And the 2 years prior to Phil Jackson coming here, we got swept out the playoffs by Utah. Swept. Phil Jackson come in with less talent, and we won 3 back-to-back NBA titles. So let's look into it. What coach is saying. You said, "Well, I don't believe that." Well, let's go look at that. Before Phil Jackson came here, we had a younger uh, Kobe Bryant. We had a dominant, but not as dominant. He wasn't MVP, but he was dominant. Shaquille O'Neal. We had an Eddie Jones, which was a great player. We had a Nick Van Exel, one of the better point guards. We had an Elder Cameron, God bless him, he just passed away. But he was very good. Very good. We had Cedric Ceballos. And then you had Shaquille O'Neal and a Kobe Bryant. And we had an all-star team. Almost. And we got swept out of the playoffs 2 years in a row. So Laker management sided to fire Dale Harris and said, we got too much talent to be swept out of playoffs. But then they go hire Phil Jackson. And in the midst of hiring Phil Jackson, he got rid of some guys that we would call ultra-talented. And they traded Eddie Jones. They got rid of Nick Van Exel. They brought in a young guy like Derek Fisher out of a small college. They brought in a journeyman in Rick Fox. They brought another journeyman, which was on title teams, in a Robert Ory. They went and got a journeyman at that particular time, a Ron Hopper. Right? They traded Eddie Jones to get uh, Glenn Rice. They went and got a Ron Hopper. They got rid of Eldon Campbell. I would say they had a younger, more talented team before Phil Jackson. And he comes in, gets everybody in their roles, gets everybody focused on what they're doing. And he turns and then he elevates Shaquille O'Neal from just being great to dominant till he won an MVP. Gets Kobe Bryant from being outstanding to even better. Yeah, had Anthony Peeler. You got rid of Anthony Peeler too. Yeah. All of them went on the championship teams. And he turns that into bring his assistant coaches, which his assistant coaches, Phil Jackson assistant coaches, Tex Winter and all of them, got paid very big money. And they turned that team into winning 3 championships in a row. And they had more talent with Dale Harris. And they got swept out of the playoffs. So tell me Listen, they won one before they got Horace Grant. Yeah. Tell me how you take a team with less talent. The first one they won with AC Green. How you tell me how you take less talent and you win championships with it? It was a mixture of the right coaching staff that could deal with egos and maximize everybody on the roster with great talent. A what we call a nucleus. We got a nucleus in Dallas already. We just got to maximize the people around him. I guarantee you, nobody. I guarantee you, some people don't need a Pickens and a CD Lamb to win a championship. But no, we have to tell our coaches we need to get a CD Lamb, a George Pickens, and then we're gonna talk about we need a third wide receiver. Yeah, to prop them up so they can try to get everything. And guess who that's costing money? Jerry. Guess who that's costing him to try to maneuver? Jerry. We got all these defensive linemen. We only got Quinn Williams, got Osa, got all these defensive linemen. We got guys, and we still need to go get prop the defense up by going and get Max Crosby. We got to go get a monster offensive defensive line and then we're gonna say we got to draft another guy to prop these guys up, these coaching staff to get to a championship. Again, my emphasis about pimping backwards. We're trying to make stars out of coaches where other teams having coaches make stars. Let me give you one more instance, and then I'm gonna let y'all go. Hopefully you like and comment and subscribe. I always should put the overlay on my thing, and I didn't do that this time, but I'm gonna put it out there because these are the two things you need to do: like, subscribe, and comment and subscribe. Right? But let me tell you something. Let me give you another thing, and that Brian Shaw, took guys that were other places and made them put them in line to be champions. Got them in and put them in a role, and we became champions. That's the same thing you do in football, man. Get guys to the role and get them motivated and get them to do roles to help your stars be stars. But they need a guy to do certain things. I I, I like NASCAR. NASCAR get pit crews. They have pit guys that run the well, they make the driver stars. They get the best tire changer, the best nut, the one that takes the nuts off, the guy, the strongest guy that can throw the tires across. Everybody fits their role. And guess what? The top drivers pay top dollar for the guys that's in their pit crew. Yeah. Because those top guys can save you for spending so much money on a certain part because they save you seconds off your laps. We don't value that. We'll keep trying to buy product to the to make coaches stars. Guys that Jerry say, I like this guy. He can be a star. Oh, this guy, we're gonna prop him up because I like him. We can make him a star. Well, other team is taking coaches and they're making football player stars. Let me give you one more instance because I know they talked about this on the last show on the OGZs. We talked about the Dodgers. I'm a Dodger fan. And people say, well, the Dodgers just got another guy. They got some of the best rosters, this and that, but they get guys that fit. And their head coach, their manager, gets the motivation for everybody to fit their roles. He takes a collection of talent, but guess what? The guys that are not stars, he gets the maximum out of them. He gets the maximum out of everybody because there's a culture that they set in Dodger land. Yes, they go get guys, but they get guys that's gonna fit. Even though that's true, they don't get everybody, but they get guys that fit. And their coach gets them to buy in to how they play. And nobody has egos because he checks the egos. That's a where you manage great teams. Now listen, everybody can't manage great talent. And I leave you with this. The greatest coach in college probably be Nick Saban in football. And probably one of the winningest coaches in the pros of Bill Belichick. I keep telling y'all, go look at all the coaching. When they talk about their philosophies, that keeps them will keep them kept them winning. It kept them being consistent. Bill Belichick is gonna win in North Carolina if he got the staying power. Oh yeah. Don't get hyped by this. Sean Payton was bad in Denver at first, and everybody talking about Sean Payton ain't gonna be no good at Denver. Guess what? See where they at now? Because you gotta break bad habits when you come in. If you're building consistent habits that's gonna be long standing and they hadn't been there before, it's gonna take some, and it's gonna be some growing pains. But it's gonna get better. But they said, those two people said that great players can't take bad coaching. Nick Saban and Bill Belichick, they say great players can't take bad coaching. You can have all the talent and you can be a bad coach and put guys in the wrong spot. Don't motivate them. Don't keep them accountable. Don't keep them hold them accountable. And they'll start playing from great to good. And the good players will go from good to average. And the average will go from average to bad. But you can put great players with great coaching, and you can take great players and make them Hall of Famers. You can take good players and make them great. You can take average players and make them good. You can take also ran and get something out of them. It's hand in hand. But Jerry, you're not maximizing all the stuff that you say you're doing with Will McClay in the organization because you refuse to get guys that you think at the end people gonna say, man, they won a Super Bowl, man. Look what Sean Payton did. And you don't want to hear that. You want to prop up a Jason Garrett, a uh a Schottenheimer, a Wade Phillips. You want to prop them up to say, oh man, look what Jerry did. Look how he made that guy a great coach. Because see, you still living in the fact that you feel that Jimmy Johnson got the credit and said that made the Dallas Cowboys look good. But the actual fact was you and him because you were smart enough to get somebody that could run your team and maximize your assets. And the dumbest thing is you don't even realize that. Now, your ego got such an effect that you don't understand, dummy. If they get to the Super Bowl, you gonna get the credit any damn way. Because you done made yourself a face of the organization. But getting somebody and paying the right people and maximizing the stuff that you don't have no restraints over to manage the stuff that you do have restraints and to get the maximum out of it is smart business. You have no restraints in your coaching staff. Maximize that to control the restraints you have in your player acquisitions. to make sure that you're core, but you get the maximum out of everything on your roster. And you get everybody falling in line to get the maximum out of it. And let's see how that works because it's working in San Francisco, it's working in Seattle, it's working in the Rams, it's working in KC. They changing up in Philadelphia to get back to that because they're gonna get somebody. Listen, they're gonna pay top dollar for their offensive coordinator and their assistant offensive coaches go. Just like they paid top dollar for their defense coordinator and their assistant coaches. Because they're gonna say that we can't keep paying going out and get free agents because we paying so much money to our nucleus. And so they're gonna spend way more money for offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, because they can't go out and buy other stuff. So they're gonna get the maximum out of what they got. It's working in Chicago. They didn't go out and get a whole bunch of free agents. They're, Ben Johnson is maximizing the talent, and then they're gonna add a piece. And if he keep maximizing, he's gonna be almost win a Super Bowl. That's called pimping forward. Using your assets to maximize your output. But pimping backwards is keep trying to get access because you got nothing to maximize your assets. You have to continue to get more and more assets to try to prop up your coaches. They brought in Ben Johnson, and he maximized the talent that the Bears had and got the best out of it. If he got a team to win a championship, probably not. But they're in contention and they're moving in the right direction. Maximize, Jerry. So in this coaching search, as I sum this up, hope some of y'all followed me. Some of y'all understood where I was coming from. But in this coaching search, Jerry, there's a defensive coordinator. You have to ask yourself something. Do I want to have a game changer? Now, you have put yourself in a box when you can't do this. Because you put yourself in a box when you start hiring your head coach and your offensive coach is the one you still got on salary. Because none of your other guys on salary. Yep, Eagles was on a 1 year contract. All your defensive player coaching was on 1 year contract. You don't hook some deal over Cotton, so that's why you got him coaching at the Wednesday game. So you probably offered him a longer term deal because he was on a 1 year deal too. You let Linda Wells go down there because Linda Wells was what on a 3 year deal. You got him a because you kept him from last year. Yeah. So this is where you at. You put yourself in a box, so you can't go out and hire some of the best because you can't mess up the salary structure you have. But you can change that, and you have to go. And if you want to try to say this, I would say this. I would say, hey, I got a good nucleus of players here. I got 2 first round draft picks, and I think I do well without drafting, which I think you do. I think we do well without drafting, and I think we do very good in our undrafted free agent pickups. We got that part. I'm going to invest in whatever it takes. I'm going to get the best of the best, and I'm going to give them. And I'm going to go in that meeting room when I get the best of the best of these things, and I'm going to say, "Hey, turn this into a masterpiece." And they maybe can do it because you gave Bill Parcells Quincy Carter, and he won you a division. You gave Jimmy Johnson some draft picks, and he won you two back-to-back Super Bowls. You had to go get a $35 million cornerback to get Bear Swiss over the top. Our team building in Dallas is pimping backwards. I hope no one feels offended about what I my topic or saying that. I don't mean it in no negative connotation. I don't mean it in it, but it's the truth. We're not doing what we need to do to maximize what we have. Please like and comment, subscribe. Please send this out. If you were in tune to what I've said, share this. A lot of Cowboy fans don't want to hear this because they so hooked up in getting players and this and that because we're gonna be on this tip of thinking that we gonna outride coaching with players. And yes, Jeff Town Search said he want so and so with Dante Jones as DC. I still want. I understand that, and listen, he could be a talent. He can make a talent. He could be great, and I want to say this, and I'm not disagreeing with Church at all about that. I think that he could be a star, but I think what I'm saying to you again, this has been the Achilles heel. Yeah, this has been the Achilles heel of what the Joneses have gotten. And see, I say that with this. Let me put it. I'm sorry to get your comment up here, Church, because I want everybody to see. And I'm glad you came in at the end. But I want you I just want this what people to see this. Hold up. I can't get this thing, me and this stuff here, man. Church said he wanted Dante Jones to be the defensive coordinator. And I think Dante Jones is a very good candidate. I think he's an up and coming thing, up and coming star. But this is where the Joneses have focused our mind on. When this is what we call propaganda. If you keep saying the same thing over and over against the person, eventually they start believing it, right? They have always shot this stuff to that we gonna this a bright mind. This guy could be a great guy. That this guy could be the could be a star. And yeah, we gonna get him cheap and we gonna make him a star. Jason Garrett, Kellen Moore, even Schottenheimer. We gonna make him a star. We gonna give him his first opportunity. We gonna make him a star. Dave Campo, Shane Gailey. We're gonna make this person a star, right? But when you already got stars out there, why we gotta try to build a guy to be a star? When we the richest organization in the world, why we gotta reach? When we could go and get stars and take those stars and make players stars. We're trying to make coaches stars where other teams are taking star coaches and making players stars. Guys that I'm watching the Rams in the division round. They ain't got maybe one or two first round draft picks. Remember, they didn't have no draft picks. These guys are third round. South Carolina State Durant, third round from South Carolina State. They done made him a star. They taking guys and making them stars. The running back, they making him a star. They got Kakua from somewhere in the third round. They're making stars. They're getting coaching staff that making guys stars, raising the level of the guys and maximizing the talent that they got on the field, so you don't have to go out and buy stuff. They can lose an Aaron Donald, and now in a couple of years they're back in the as one of the top teams. But what we got to do is go trade for Quentin Williams, because we got to prop up our guys. They taking guys and putting it together and making stars. What we're doing is we got to have first round draft picks. We got to go get free agents. We got to pay our guys, and every guy that comes up for contract for us, we can't let them go because we got to sign them. where Kansas City could let an all-pro cornerback that made all-pro, was almost defensive player of the year, and trade him to the Titans and then win a Super Bowl again. They could trade Tyreek Hill and come back and win back-to-back Super Bowls. Tell me how they worked that. Because they had a coaching staff that can maximize the talent we got. But what we have to do is, yes, we'll go and get a Dante Jones to make him a star. But we're going to have to find more and more players. Yes, he might be that guy that can get the maximum out of the talent. Yes. But why are we still trying to reach? Remember, we always talk about when we talk about the draft, right? They say you should never be reach. You never should reach in the draft all the time. Church, you know more about the draft than me, right? You shouldn't reach. Why are we always reaching when it comes to coaches? It boggles me. We talked about having Sean Payton for the longest. It's been rumors of that. You don't think we could have had Sean Payton by now? You mean tell me Sean Payton and the talent that they got in Denver? You not telling me that if Sean Payton was with this team, that we would have been in a Super Bowl championship already? But guess what? Not just Sean Payton. Everybody on Sean Payton's staff is going to cost you money. But guess why we don't have Sean Payton? It's for two reasons. One, we don't want to pay him because when we pay Sean Payton at the value of what he's supposed to be, it goes back to what I have said over and over again. When you get top money, it's already going to come with a level of say so and a big level of credit. So you pay less so it doesn't come with say so and credit. Because if you take a flyer and you build him up by throwing players at him and he becomes a great coach, guess who gets the credit? You. But we'll continue to take that chance because 30 years ago, he said that Jimmy Johnson, if I can get with this talent on this team, I can get 100 guys to win a Super Bowl, coaches to win a Super Bowl. And then Barry Switzer took that same team the next year and lost in the championship game. And guess what, Jerry? You had to add another $35 million on what you already had to win a Super Bowl the next year by getting Deion Sanders. No, Jerry. Jimmy won without Deion. You had to spend another $35 million. At that time, that's why I say we pimp it backwards. I'm not saying it takes all coaching. I'm not saying it takes all talent. But we got enough talent on this team in these last 30 years that we should not have not been in a championship game. They ain't no listen, we might not win no Super Bowl, but there's nowhere in the hell that in these last 30 years that we should not have played an NFC championship game with the talent we have had in these last 30 years. Echo, stop. There's no reason, man. There's no it boggles my mind that Denver could have a number one seed in salary cap hell, and this guy done took a team that they're making stars as of today. And he took a couple of players because you got to have a foundation. We got a foundation too. But he making guys stars and he putting guys together, and they are in a championship game in salary cap hell. And here we are talking about it on here, trying to make Schottenheimer a star. And he could have been here. And when we say that, guess what guess what we do? Our fan base say, "Nah, man, let's go get some players. Don't worry about that." And until we start calling to the court the see, and what I'm saying to you, church, when I say he done got us falling into that thing, we're still pumping up Dante Jones, and I'm not pumping up Dante Jones, but then I got us into the point and say, well, that's how they gonna go. He got us started, and guess what? They done got us started because they keep giving up. And somebody need to say, why are you not having the best of the ones you don't have restrictions on? Why the stuff you don't have restrictions on is not so overwhelming that it can be able to control the stuff that you got restrictions on. But what we trying to do it is the stuff we ain't got no restrictions on. We trying to get the stuff that we got restrictions on to control the stuff we don't have no restrictions on. And let me say that again. We got restrictions on the salary cap money we can spend. We trying to use that to control, to prop up stuff that we have no restrictions on. Where everybody else using what they don't have no restrictions on to control the stuff they do. So that's why my show said we pimp it backwards. And this ain't just the Cowboys. This is happening across in sports history. It's a great two. And if you're gonna have somebody with managing that, and football is relative. If you go somewhere and you got a business right now, you start a business. I don't care if you start any type of business. You ain't gonna be able to keep. You ain't gonna be able to keep buying product and keep propping stuff up to overrun bad management. I'm gonna say that again. You can have a business right now. Your product is not gonna be able to overrun bad management. It's gonna fail somewhere down the line. But good product with good management makes you a millionaire. Great product with bad management gonna get you in bankruptcy. Great management with bad product gonna get you in bankruptcy. Great product and great management together, your product ain't got to be as great, just good. With great management, might make you a whole lot of money because it's gonna make the product even look better. It's happening all around you, but they got us so impressed about salary cap. We are the only organization that our fans talk about salary cap more than any other organization out there because they making you think that the salary cap is the reason why they're not winning. They done made you feel that the salary cap is the reason why they're not winning. And every time they run into a point, they always talk about, well, we can't do this because we done paid our quarterback. We done pay, when you pay big bucks to the quarterback and you have some stars, it's just about the piece of the pie, about the pie. Well, tell me about what y'all doing with the part that ain't got no pie, no pieces. Who y'all got? You get a guy. Listen, you had on the staff when Twin here, you had a linebacker coach that had some problems that he had some accolade some problems, man. Man, I tell you, that shouldn't even be in coaching. You got guys, man, you got guys coaching your secondary that right now that's on a 1 year deal. Listen, you got a bunch of 1 year. You listen, don't y'all know that Matt Eaglefool's on a 1 year deal, and then you pay Matt Eaglefool the third highest defensive coordinator money in the league on a 1 year deal, and then you give Matt Eaglefool a whole staff of guys on 1 year contracts. What did I tell y'all 2 years ago? When they put Mike McCarthy on 1 year contract and they hired all the team players, coaches last year, 2 years ago on 1 year contract, I said I can go get receipts. What I said on Twitter, that ain't gonna work. Lame duck coaches don't work because guess what? When you run into some adversity and stuff start going wrong, guess what happens? Nobody got no longevity, so everybody start turning on each other. You got coaches probably on the staff undercutting other staff, undercut positions. Because everybody looking for their own job. Everybody looking to put the blame on somebody else. You probably had staff members that turned on Matt Eberflus, that start reporting stuff to Jerry and them, talking about what Matt Eberflus doing, and they ain't doing a damn thing in their job. I guarantee you that happened. Know why? That's how it goes when you got a bunch of guys on no 1 year deals. When things start going back, everybody go to self-preservation, people. Who does this? What other team got a bunch of coaching staff for the last 2 years with 90% of the coaching staff on 1 year deals? Who does that? That shows you how much you value the coaches. You're telling the coaches that needs to put in a a culture that needs to motivate and develop guys that I'm got you on a quick 1 year prove it deal, and then you got players on a longer process. So how are they going to develop the guys and they ain't there long enough to develop the guys? And then you tell everybody, tell me if I'm wrong, people. They keep preaching to us continuity. Don't they keep preaching that? Then they kept telling us continuity. Well, how the hell is continuity when you got everybody on 1 year contract? White Cotton is on a 1 year contract. And guess what? When he interviewed for the coaching staff, they already locked him into a job. So he think he gonna get a second contract. So that's why they trotted him down there to the Senior Bowl. You ain't see nobody else go down there, did you? Luna Wells down there because he don't you to keep him last year, you had to give him more than 1 year contract. What defensive coordinator is gonna come to a job and you gonna hire all his staff on a 1 year deal? What loyalty he's gonna have with the guys that he's trying to put together when everybody on 1 year deals? And y'all wonder why the defense started looking worse and worse as the year went on? Let me tell you why. Because once it started looking bad, fellas, the defensive back coach started uh, undercutting the linebacker coach. The linebacker started cutting the run game coordinator. The people up, the assistants up top start saying, man, well, we should be doing this. Everybody went in their own directions. So that's why I could, and listen, I didn't know that. And I kept saying, man, this defense ain't got no confidence. Remember, if y'all watch me on the live show, I kept saying this defense is playing with no confidence. Guess what 1 year deals and lame ducks gives you? What's the main thing that it calls you to have? Lack of confidence because there's no stability there. You start second yourself, guessing yourself because you guess wrong. You on a 1 year deal, you gone. I know I'm saying you got to give guys 3, 4 years. That means you have to take it seriously about who you hire So you could give them some continuity and some. And guess what? If they don't work, guess what? They do it all around the NFL. They fire coaches that got 2 year deals. And guess what the ownership does when they do that? Across the league. Jerry told you, I wish I could bring it up. This past offseason, he said, listen to me, this is key now. Y'all listen to what I'm about to say. He said that the NFL is paying over $200 million to dead money to coaches and GMs. Raheem Morris is still getting $12 million from Atlanta. They fired him with his. He's still under contract. Rich Gannon with Arizona is still under contract. They fired him. Yeah, he's still gonna get money from Arizona. They probably fired some of his coaches, and they probably was under contract because they ain't gonna keep those coaches around. Teams to fire people. Giants fired their coach. He was under contract. They fired the staff. They paying those coaches plus paying Harbaugh 20 million plus whatever he brings in. Because guess what? Other teams ain't scared about paying dead money to coaches because they're gonna use they got to get it right. They're not being cheap about, well, I can't fire the coach because he's under contract and I don't want to pay him and he's not here. Other organizations say, man, if I need to change, let's go ahead and change. Because there ain't no cap on that. We wait till a coach get all the way his contract and then we let him go. Because we don't want to pay no coach without that they ain't working for us. So we rather put guys on 1 year contracts so if they don't work out, we can just get rid of them and they don't know that man, what are we doing, man? And I who I blame? Me and the rest of the fan base. Because we don't demand that you get the best of the best to run this football team. When you go out to a store right now and you go into a grocery store, you go something, you demand if you want to be a participant there that they have a good store. You don't want to go in no store that the store falling down, the door falling down. You demand that they give you a quality place for you to spend your money. So we should demand that they give us the best of the best. Ain't no salary cap on that. And we should shut down all that stuff when they start talking about, well, I'm paying the quarterback, so and say, but who you paying the run the quarterback? Who you paying the running back coach? Do we got the best of the best coaching staff here? Why other teams are doing better with less and we can't do it? We got to have more to do it. Let's ask that question. Let's ask the question of why Seattle's in the playoffs and the Chicago Bears in the playoffs, and before the season, nobody would have told us that they got better talent than us. Let's ask that question. Instead of talking about what Dak Prescott ain't doing. Why we got to pay another $35 million wide receiver when we had two 35 wide receivers and we ain't in the playoffs? How can I justify paying another guy $30-some million? Did it get us in the playoffs? How about I get me a better offense coordinator, a better guy that's going to maximize because the other guys in the playoffs ain't got no $230 million wide receivers? Why my team can't do like that? Anybody ask that question? But we going to get $230 million, and then guess what? Our Cowboy fans going to say, let's draft another guy in the second round, another wide receiver. Watch. Jimmy took a team and got to the Super Bowl, built it from the ground up, maximized the talent. All those guys were in the first round draft picks. I keep telling you, there was no first round draft pick on the Great Wall. They made a documentary of them. Two and they was a defensive lineman. They made him a tackle, left tackle at that. Eric Williams came from Central State. Yeah. Nate Newton was cut from the Washington team. Steph Nazi was a fourth round draft pick, and they made him into a quality center. Kevin Gogan was a journeyman. Tony Casillas was a failure in defense line was a failure in Atlanta. Came and we put him in the right spot and gave him a role. He started dominating. We got Leon Lett off of a basketball court somewhere that he was playing basketball. Turned him into an all-pro defensive tackle. Yeah, we had Russell Maryland, but look at the players we got. Look at the maximum amount of talent we got out of everybody on the roster. We turned Gant into a special team wonder from Grambling. Got guys from small schools, maximized the talent and got them to the Super Bowl. Back to back, may I say. And we've been pimping backwards ever since. Let's stand up, Cowboy Nation, and stop this saying, man, let's try to get the best of the best and spend some of your money on the best of the best. Raheem Morris, that's who my guy is. I can understand Dante Jones being a wonder, but when you told me you paid $4 million for Matt Eaglefoot and you made him like the third highest paid defense coordinator in the league, you could pay Raheem Morris $4 million. And that's all he made as a head coach. And you can get Raheem Morris here, and he's got skins on the wall. And get his assistant coaches in here. And guess what? You ain't got to worry about him leaving out the door. Because what? He done had three head coaching jobs. Should he have another shot? He probably will. But I know, and you know, based off how things are and the complexion for the connection, he ain't going to get no more. And he'll be here for 20 years if you want it. And he'll be your Spagnola to your Andy Reid if Schottenheimer turned out to be great. And he's gonna come with some on the wall already. So, like I said, man, I know I'm rambling, but thank you again, man. Hope y'all subscribe. Hope y'all understand. Hope y'all share this and talk about it because I think it's very, very important, man. That this the what pimping backwards, man. Let's invest more into our coaching staff, man, and still with the talent. But together, those two things, we done had too much talent here not to win or not even be in contention or have consistency. And Jared has failed on one thing. It's been he done failed on the people that he has put into the management of his team. He has done good on the draft picks. He has done good on bringing some talent in here. 100 people can't do it, Jerry. And you still trying to prove that true. It ain't gonna prove it true. Until next time, people, keep going. Remember, nobody can stop God's will. And we gonna always keep pushing, man. Hope you like, comment, and subscribe. Hope you send a cash app to support the channel. But please keep going, man. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for all you do. Thank you for my darling for putting the cash app in there. Let's support, man. This is my beautiful, beautiful friend here, man. She's very supportive of me, and I care for her dearly, man. So let's, you know, yeah, she always puts in the comments. She talks and she intertwines with all y'all, man, and that's great, man. I need to have that support. But if you want to, man, please cash app to support the channel. That would be greatly appreciated, so we can move on into some better things in this year. Um, we were looking for that, man. These all content creators need the support, man, because this takes money to keep getting upgraded equipment and to try to make a better presentation and to move forward, man. We giving you great content, man. We giving us a platform for us to talk and speak out there. We're giving our opinions, but you are the ones that make us go. And if you have in your heart, please cash out. But until next time, enjoy your weekend, enjoy your holiday. Remember, this holiday is for a great man that was consistent, that maximized every bit of his talent in the years, the short many years he was here. He maximized that to do great things. It didn't take him to 80 years to do the things that he did, but he maximized his talent and he maximized it for the good of us. And remember, it's not about for the few people to do well. It's about the masses. Make decisions for the masses and you'll be better served for it, and you'll be blessed for it. Remember, nobody, no one, nothing can stop God's will. Until next time, peace.